Mily Balakirev and the Russian Five. More than anyone else, it was Mily Balakirev who postulated and promulgated precisely what Russian nationalist music should be. Oh, he was a merciless despot, as autocratic as the Tsar himself. According to his biographer, Edward Garden, quote, "He was accustomed to being agreed with on every point. Had he lived, perhaps Glinka might have been able to stop Balakirev from making so many tactless remarks which alienated even his closest friends. But Balakirev imagined that the cause of true Russian art, as he called it, was in his own hands, and that to disagree with him was to be wrong," unquote. Balakirev was born in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, which was known as Gorky from 1932 to 1990, about 240 miles east of Moscow. He was a child prodigy as both a pianist and conductor and began composing at the age of 15. Among his early compositions was a virtuosic piano fantasy based on themes from Mikhail Glinka's opera, A Life for the Tsar. In 1855, at the age of 18, Balakirev moved to St. Petersburg, where he met and played piano for his hero, Mikhail Glinka. Glinka, who was 51 years old at the time, was completely knocked out by Balakirev's piano playing. Glinka's sister, Lyudmila Shestakova, remembered, quote, "My brother was delighted with Balakirev's fantasia on themes from A Life for the Tsar. Balakirev was invited to call as often as possible, and my brother insisted that he play the fantasia each time," unquote. Glinka was somewhat less impressed with Balakirev's compositional technique. Balakirev was self-taught as a composer, and you know what? It showed. According to his friend, the violinist Peter Baborokin, Balakirev never owned a single book on music theory, harmony, or orchestration. Balakirev's compositional immaturity aside, Glinka told his sister Lyudmila that Balakirev was the only man who shared his views on music, telling her, quote, "Believe me, in time he will be a second Glinka," unquote. Glinka died suddenly and unexpectedly as the result of a common cold just a year and a half after meeting Balakirev. Thus, at a stroke, no pun intended, Balakirev lost his mentor but had an opportunity placed in his lap. You see, like Glinka, Balakirev believed with the passion of a biblical zealot that there should be a distinctly Russian school of music that would be, presumably, free of foreign influence. With Glinka gone, Balakirev, 20 years old and musically uneducated though he was as close to being Glinka's successor as anyone in the tiny Russian musical community. And so he put out his shingle in St. Petersburg as a composer, music teacher, and critic, and went to work. That he could do so was a case of only in Russia. The musical vacuum was such that given the requisite moxie, which Balakirev had in endless supply, even a relative amateur like himself could pass himself off as a professional. Even more amazing is that Balakirev soon came to be accepted as Glinka's successor. But most amazing of all is that during the 1860s, Balakirev gathered around him a group of young amateur composers, hobbyists, who eventually changed the face of not just Russian music, but Western concert music as well. Those composers were Cesar Cui, an army officer, engineer, and fortifications expert, Modest Mussorgsky, an army ensign who resigned and took a job at the post office, Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, a naval officer and future music professor, and Alexander Borodin, a doctor and research chemist. They came to be called the Moguchaya Kuchka, which can be translated variously as the mighty heap, the magnificent few, the mighty handful, or simply the five. the boys preferred to refer to themselves as the Balakirev Circle or the New Russian School.